Good morning, students. Today we will be discussing on writing a research proposal part 2. This is the second video in the series Research Methodology video series. Before watching this video, please try to watch video 1 in which we have mentioned about chapter 1 and chapter 2 of writing a research proposal. Chapter 1 we discussed about uh, writing introduction. Chapter 2 we discussed about writing the literature review. In this video we will be going through chapter 3 methodology. It is having many subdivisions: study design, study period, study location, target population, source population, study participants or sample, inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria, sampling method, sample size calculation, method of collection of data, variables under study, pilot study if it is needed. Not all studies require pilot study. Study flowchart, criteria for scoring, intended statistical analysis, ethical consideration, statistical flowchart and statistical methods. After chapter 3, we can go through how to write expected results or dummy tables, how to write Gantt chart or timeline chart, and references. First component under the methodology section is study design. You have to mention what is the study design. In this example mentioned in this video will be a study to estimate the prevalence of stress and evaluate the association between sleep quality and stress among university students. So it will be a cross-sectional study. Data will be collected at a single point in time using a self-administered questionnaire. Example, a cross-sectional survey will be conducted among undergraduate students to assess stress levels and sleep quality at a single point in time. Okay, there is a small mistake in this slide. You have to write it. A cross-sectional survey will be conducted. So, in proposal, all will be in future tense. Okay. Study period. You have to mention this period of data collection. Study will be conducted over a defined period to collect data. Allows adequate time for participant recruitment and questionnaire completion. Some researchers give the study period as the point uh, period from the selection of um, research topic to the research completion. Some researchers show the study period, uh, the period of collection of data. Okay, so both can be acceptable. Example, data collection will be carried out from January 2025 to March 2025. In this proposal, they have shown the data collection period only. Okay. Study location. Please show from where the data will be collected, the location of study. This study will be conducted in higher educated institutions located in Ipoh, Perak, Malaysia. Okay, all the higher education institutions will be included. Includes both public and private universities. Okay. Data will be collected from students at Quest International University, Ipoh, Perak, Malaysia. Let's say example. Target population. Target population refers to the complete group of individuals to whom the study findings are intended to apply. In this study, target population is all undergraduate students in. Okay, even if we select a sample from that target population and conduct the study, the findings will be applied to the target population. All undergraduate students enrolled in public and private universities in Ipoh, Perak, Malaysia will be the target population. Source population. Source population means we cannot collect data from all the target population. We have to get permission from some institutions. Then source population will be those institutions from where the sample will be collected. The source population is a group from which the study participants or sample are actually selected. For the study, source population includes students from selected universities in Ipoh. Example, undergraduate students from Quest International University, Ipoh, Perak, Malaysia. So that's a source population. From the source population, we have to get the list of all students. From those lists, you will select the samples randomly. Okay. Study participants or samples. Study participants are individuals who actually take part in the study and provide the data. Data will be collected from study participants or samples. They are selected from this source population using a sampling technique. If you are using simple random sampling technique, you will get the list of all the students from the university. Then you give the number for each student. Then you select the samples using a random number generated. Okay, a sample of undergraduate students from Quest International University, Ipoh, Perak, Malaysia, who consented to participate in this study. Okay, so you get a list of them, then you select numbers randomly. Inclusion criteria. There are some criteria. Specify the characteristics that participants must have to be eligible for the study. Those who satisfy inclusion criteria will be included in the sample. This ensures that the selected participants are relevant to the research objectives. Example, undergraduate students aged 18 years and above. That's a criteria for inclusion. 18 years and above. Enrolled in Quest International University currently. So those who are currently enrolled in Quest International University who are willing to participate and to provide informed consent. Informed consent means the researcher need to explain about the research to them. Then after understanding it, they they can provide the consent or willingness to participate in the study. Exclusion criteria. So it defines the characteristics that disqualify individuals from participating in this study. These help to avoid potential confounding factors. So example is like that. Students with a diagnosed sleep disorder. Okay, because our study focuses on the association between sleep disorder and stress, sleep quality and stress. So those who are diagnosed with a sleep disorder or having some chronic medical or psychiatric conditions, they will be having stress, right? That may affect stress or sleep quality will be included. Some of the students may be taking some medication for depression, medication for anxiety disorder. They will be excluded from the study. Variables used in this study. So you have to mention what are the dependent variables and what are the independent variables. Variables are the characteristics or factors that are measured or examined in this study. Include independent, dependent, and other confounding variables also you have to include. Socio-demographic variables that can affect stress, that can affect sleep quality also. So, independent variable is sleep quality, dependent variable is stress level. Other variables are age, gender, year of study, academic workload. that can be added. Okay, now we can go to sampling methods. There are two different type of sampling methods, probability sampling methods and non-probability sampling methods. Probability sampling methods means every member of the population has a known and equal chance of being selected in the sample. So everyone in the population will have equal probability to be selected in the sample. It is otherwise known as representative sampling method. A representative sampling method means that those who are included in the sample are representative of the true population. All members of the population have a known and equal chance of being selected. What are the benefits of probability sampling? It reduces selection bias. It improves reliability of results because we are doing representative sampling. The sample is true representative of the population. So we can generalize the results. We can have reliability of results. Allows generalization to the population. Okay. Simple random sampling. Participants are selected randomly from the list of students. I told you before, get the list of all students, give a number to each student, then use a random number generator or Excel to choose the number. Then you select that sample. Population, from the population, sample is selected randomly. Every individual has an equal chance, like rolling a dice. Selection is left to chance. Okay. Systematic sampling. Systematic sampling means it can be applied in a homogeneous population. So we will identify the sampling interval. Okay. Total 200 students are there. So we need to select 20 students from this 200. So you identify what is the sampling interval. Sampling interval will be 200. That is the total population divided by 20. 20 is the sample size required. 200 divided by 20 will be 10. 10 is the sampling interval. So you select 10th individual from the list. That will give you systematic sampling. To avoid bias, you can use systematic random method. Why it is different, you select the first one randomly from between 1 and 10. So if you are selecting fifth individual randomly, that is a first sample. Then you add sampling interval to the first individual, that is 5 plus 10, 15, 15 plus 10, 25, 25 plus 10, 35. Like that, you select the samples in a systematic interval. Every kth student from the list is selected. The k is the sampling interval. A starting point is chosen randomly. Then every kth individual is selected at a regular intervals. Systematic sampling and systematic random sampling can be applied for homogeneous population so that it will avoid bias. Next is stratified random sampling. In some population, we cannot apply systematic random sampling because the population is heterogeneous. Like the Malaysian population, there are different ethnic groups, Malay, Chinese, and Indian ethnic groups. And Malaysia is having um, indigenous population also. So there are 4 different ethnic groups. So in that case, you can select sample from different strata. Population is divided into different strata like faculty, year of study, or ethnicity, like that. Then faculty A, you select samples. Faculty B, you select samples randomly. Faculty C also, you select samples randomly. So stratified sampling, population is split into subgroups or strata, and the random samples are taken from each group. It can be applied in heterogeneous sampling, heterogeneous population. Okay, cluster sampling. Entire groups or classes or faculties are selected randomly. Understand? Instead of selecting individuals, entire clusters are randomly chosen and included in the study. So there are different clusters, like different schools in a city. So if there are 5 schools in a city, you select 2 schools randomly, school 2 and school 4. Then you select samples from 2 selected clusters. Clusters are individual groups which share the same characteristic, like schools, like village, like some specific officers. You can select them as clusters and you select sample from each cluster. That is an example of cluster sampling. Now we can go through non-probability sampling. In non-probability sampling methods, not every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. Selection is based on availability, judgment by the researcher, or specific characteristics. Not all members of the population have an equal chance of being selected. Non-probability sampling method is more biased compared to probability sampling method. I told you before, probability sampling method is otherwise known as representative sampling method because sample is a true representative of the population. Non-probability sampling method is otherwise known as non-representative sampling because sample is not a representative of the true population. But there are some benefits for non-probability sampling method. It is quick and easy to conduct. It is cost effective, not much costly like probability sampling methods. Useful for exploratory studies. Suitable when sampling frame is not available. We don't have the list of all students. Then you can do non-probability sampling. You can use convenience sampling. Okay, now we will go through what are the different sampling methods. Convenience samplings. Participants are selected based on availability and willingness of participants. Okay, you go to a cafe and select all people who are coming for drinking coffee. Okay, researchers select participants who are easy to access, such as people in a nearby cafe, students coming to a canteen. You can select them. Purposive sampling. Purposive sampling means participants are chosen based on a purpose or based on a specific characteristic. So, in a classroom, you are selecting the top performing students. What are the learning strategies which are followed by top performing students? So, you are selecting only the top performing student. So, that will be an example of purposive sampling. Researchers select participants who meet certain criteria relevant to the study. That is purposive sampling. Another name for purposive sampling is judgmental sampling. So researchers use his or her own judgment to select the study participants. Next is quota sampling. Quota sampling means so researchers set quotas for different groups. So in this research, please look, males, 50% of participants should be males, 50% of participants should be females. 40% should be between the age 18 to 30 years. 60% should be between above 30 years of age. Like that. A researcher can prepare quota and can include the participants based on the quota. Another study, if you are keeping quota for some ethnic group, you can make sure that 70% of study participants will be from Malay community, 30% will be from either Chinese or Indian community. So a researcher can prepare a quota, fix a quota for collection of samples. Researchers ensure that sample includes a specific number of people from each category compulsorily. Snowball sampling. Okay, current participants recruit future participants from their network or from their friend circle. So, researcher is asking 5 students to join the research and ask them to bring 5 more students from another from their friend circle. A few participants refer others, and the sample grows like a snowball. Consecutive sampling. Consecutive sampling means participants who meet the inclusion criteria are selected consecutively until the required sample size is reached. If the researcher is working in a clinic, those participants who attend his clinic and who satisfy the inclusion criteria will be automatically included in the study. Every eligible participant who comes along during the data collection period and who satisfy the inclusion criteria will be included one after another. That is an example of consecutive sampling. These are the various non-probability sampling methods: convenience sampling, purposive sampling, quota sampling, okay, snowball sampling, consecutive sampling. Sample size calculation. So researchers need to calculate the required sample size either using formula or using website. There are so many online sample size calculation tools that can be used. Okay, as this is a cross-sectional study and uh, we are estimating the proportion of students with stress. In that case, we can use Cochrane's formula for proportion. Okay, sample size will be calculated using Cochrane's formula Z alpha squared, that is Z value for 95% confidence interval, that is 1.96 is the Z value here, multiplied by P multiplied by 1 minus P. P is the estimated proportion of attribute. In this case, stress is the outcome variable. So, how much proportion of the sample may be having stress? That value is obtained from previous research. Okay. Use 0.5 or 50% if unknown to get maximum sample size. So in this case, if proportion of students with stress is 50% based on the previous study, so P will be 0.5. 1 minus P means proportion of students who do not have stress. If 50% is having stress means 50% don't have stress. So 1 minus 0.5, that is 0.5 will be proportion of students who do not have stress. E is the margin of error. Even if we assume that 50% have stress, there is a margin of error that if it is 5% or 0.05 means the proportion of stress may vary from 45% to 55%. So margin of error or precision will be 5%. or 0.05. So you can calculate the sample size based on this formula. For finite population, so I will give you an example. If you calculate the sample size as 300, but total number of students in that university is less than 300. In that scenario, you can apply the correction formula for finite population. So, I will cover the sample size calculation using formula alone in the coming videos. Okay, so if you are having doubt, I will upload another video on sample size calculation. So it will be easier for you. So example for this study, target population is 20,000 undergraduate students in universities in Ipoh. Confidence level is 95%. So Z value is 1.96. Margin of error is 5% or 0.05. Proportion is 0.5. That is a maximum variability. Calculation. So you can put the values here. 1.96 multiplied by 1.96 multiplied by 0.5 multiplied by 1 minus 0.5. That is also 0.5. Margin of error is 0.05. That is 5%. Okay, and calculated the sample size as 384. Okay, adjust for finite population. So we reduce the sample size based on the actual population that we have. So here 20,000 population is there, no? So you adjust the sample size based on the correction formula. So 377 is the calculated sample size. Minimum required sample size is 377 students. Now we can go through the next part, pilot study. Sometimes you don't have a questionnaire which is validated. In some case, the researcher may be preparing his own questionnaire. So in that case, the researcher can do pilot study. A pilot study is a small-scale trial of the study procedure and instruments conducted before the main study to assess feasibility, clarity, reliability, and to identify any problems in data collection. When it is required, before the main data collection begins, after the development or adaptation of questionnaire or instrument, when using tools in a new population or setting. Okay, in that case, we can do pilot study. How it is conducted? Select a small group of students who meet the inclusion criteria but will not be a part of the main study. So you select a small group of people and conduct a pilot study. They complete the questionnaires and provide feedback on clarity, length, and understanding. So after collecting the data for pilot study, please use reliability tools. Please apply reliability tools like Cronbach Alpha to check if the questionnaire is acceptable or not. If Cronbach Alpha value is more than 0.7, the questionnaire is acceptable. Revise the instruments or tools based on the findings. Sample size required for pilot study. Many people have a doubt. How much sample size can be used? Usually it will be 10 to 20% of the total sample size. There is no fixed rule, but common recommendation for pilot study sample size is 20 to 30%. 30 participants. It is 10 to 20%. The number is considered sufficient to evaluate feasibility, understand participant responses, and understand the difficulty faced by the participant and to assess reliability of the instrument using Cronbach alpha. Next part of the methodology is method of collection of data. Okay, recruitment. Eligible students will be approached in classes or via online platforms. The study information sheet and a consent form will be provided to get the informed consent. The participants will be briefed about the research and informed consent is obtained. After that, questionnaire administration is conducted. Questionnaire will be administered. Then confidentiality will be maintained in collection of data. The data will be kept anonymous and used for research purpose only. Data handling. Completed questionnaire will be checked for completeness and coded for analysis. Instruments used in the current study will be perceived stress scale for uh, measuring the stress level of participants, Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index (PSQI) will be used to check the sleep quality, to measure the sleep quality of participants. Scoring criteria, how the data will be scored. Okay. Perceived stress scale, each item will be scored 0 to 4. Okay. Total score range will be 0 to 40. And then scoring criteria will be like that. 0 to 13 total score will be low stress. 14 to 26 will be moderate perceived stress. And 27 to 40 will be high perceived stress. While writing the proposal, while preparing the proposal, the researcher should have a clear idea on scoring criteria. High scores indicate higher perceived stress. Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index also 7 component scores, each 0 to 3. Okay. Global score will range from 0 to 21. 0 to 5 is good sleep quality. More than 5, PSQI global score shows poor sleep quality. Okay, so these are the methodology for scoring criteria. Ethical consideration. So, ethical clearance should be obtained from Institutional Ethical Clearance Committee. In Quest International University, there is a committee known as Joint Research and Ethics Committee. So, after preparing the proposal, the researcher need to get ethical clearance from the committee. So these are the components to be checked before sending for ethical clearance. Informed consent should be obtained. Voluntary participation. So participants should not be forced to be a part of this study. Confidentiality will be maintained. Okay, identifiable information of the participants will be kept confidential. Privacy and anonymity of data will be maintained. Minimal risk. There should not be any risk to the participant. Right to withdraw from the study. Participants will have the right and the freedom to withdraw from the study. Data will be kept secure using a password protected file. Use of data. Data will be used for publication or presentations, but the data will be kept confidential. The identifiable data of participants will be kept confidential. Fair selection of participants. So the sampling technique used will be mostly probability sampling method. So the sample will be a representative of the population. contact for queries. So the researcher's name and uh, email address or phone number will be given to the participants to clarify any queries. These are the consideration for ethical conduction of study. Study flow chart. Target population will be defined. Identification of source population, then sampling method, then recruitment and informed consent will be obtained. Data collection will be done. Okay. Data management, data coding will be done, data cleaning will be done before data analysis. Data coding, data cleaning, and the scoring criteria also will be checked before data analysis. Then interpretation and reporting of this study. So this is a graphical representation of study flow chart. Intended statistical analysis. So in the proposal, a researcher need to mention what statistical analysis will be performed. So, before the statistical analysis, which statistical software will be used? Then, uh, what is the significance level or p-value of 0.05 will be considered as statistical significance level. P-value of which is less than 0.05 will be considered as statistically significant. P-value which is more than 0.05 will be considered as statistically non-significant. Descriptive statistics. Categorical variables will be summarized using frequencies and percentages. Continuous variables will be summarized as mean, standard deviation, okay, or median and interquartile range. If data is normally distributed, mean and standard deviation will be used. If data is not normally distributed, median and interquartile range will be used. Prevalence of stress will be reported as proportion. Assessment of normality. Normality will be checked using histogram or normality test. We can use Shapiro-Wilk test, which is a normality test. Normally distributed data will be presented as mean and standard deviation. Not normally distributed data or skewed data will be presented as median and interquartile range. Inferential statistical analysis. Okay, so Pearson correlation coefficient will be used to examine the linear relationship between sleep quality score and perceived stress score. If both are normally distributed, we use Pearson correlation coefficient. Spearman correlation coefficient will be used if data is not normally distributed. So correlation coefficient will be used to check or study the linear relationship between dependent variable and independent variable. One-way ANOVA test or Kruskal-Wallis test will be used to compare uh, stress score across more than two groups. Okay. Chi-square test will be used to examine association between categorical variables, stress categories and demographic variables, stress categories and sleep quality categories. So this is a statistical flow chart. Data collection, then how the raw data is entered and cleaned in SPSS. Then comes descriptive statistics. Categorical variable will be described using frequency and percentage. Continuous variable will be described using mean and standard deviation or median and interquartile range. Perceived stress, prevalence. Okay, prevalence of perceived stress will be described using proportion. You can use 95% confidence interval or proportion also to show the variation in proportions. Assessment of normality using Shapiro-Wilk test or normally distributed data. We use mean and standard deviation. Not normally distributed data, median and interquartile range will be used. Step 4 will be inferential statistical analysis. So what statistical analysis will be used? Pearson correlation will be used if both stress score and sleep quality index are normally distributed. Spearman's correlation will be used if data is not normally distributed. Independent t-test or Mann-Whitney u-test will be used when to compare the mean or median across sleep quality categories. One-way ANOVA or Kruskal-Wallis test will be used to compare the stress score in more than 2 categories. Okay, like year of study or uh, faculty, like that. Okay. Chi-square test. Association between categorical variables will be studied using chi-square test. There is a mistake here, please note. One-way ANOVA test is used for when independent variable is more than 2 categories, like year of study or faculty or ethnicity. Gender is not a good example here. No, gender, no. We use independent t-test or Mann-Whitney u-test. For ethnicity, we can use one-way ANOVA or Kruskal-Wallis test. Reporting is done. Results presented in tables and diagrams. Effect size can be used. Okay, statistical significance. At what is the level of statistical significance? Here we are using p-value less than 0.05 will be considered as statistical significance level. Gantt chart. Gantt chart is the timeline chart. So it will be like that. Okay, first month ethical clearance will be obtained. Development of study instruments and pilot testing during first 2 months. Finalization of data collection instruments. Preparation of study materials. Okay, data collection, data entry, data cleaning, data analysis, interpretation of results, report writing, and a final submission. So the timeline will be prepared. That is known as Gantt chart. Dummy tables. So researcher need to prepare dummy tables. Okay, this is one example of dummy table. Okay. Okay, score distribution, perceived stress score and a sleep quality score. Mean plus standard deviation, median and interquartile range. So this is another dummy table. Comparison of perceived stress score according to sleep quality. Among good sleep quality, what is a mean stress score? Among those with a poor sleep quality, what is a mean stress score? Perceived stress score across various demographic categories. Okay, now we will move to the referencing style. APA referencing style is used in most of the universities. In Quest International University, we use APA 7th edition. So in-text citation. So you have to give the citation in text, like name of the first author of the research and year of publication. Okay, that is in-text citation criteria. Referencing list. You please use APA referencing style. Okay.